I've never described a blaster as crunchy before, but with this Sportsman from Adventure Force, by the way of Dart Zone, that's kind of what I would describe this one as. Let's talk about this guy, let's talk about some of the things I like, some of the things I might have wanted to change, and my overall impressions of it. You ready? Let's go. So this is the Adventure Force Sportsman, and this blaster came out a few years ago already, but it is one that is fairly unique. See, it is a hopper-fed foam dart blaster, and not like the rival round stuff, it's actual, like, full-length foam darts, which makes this an anomaly of sorts, and I just kind of want to describe a little bit about this blaster, show how it works because it's very unique, but before I get too ahead of myself, let's look at this hopper mechanism. See, this right here is where the hopper unfurls. If I just push back on this orange button, and I gotta push the sides, we'll talk a little bit about that, you can see that I have access to the plunger tube via this hopper. You take a handful of darts and you kind of align them in the hopper so that they're all sitting in place like that. You push back on the cover there, pull back on the priming handle, and now we've got a dart loaded. You hear that, and it's an extremely crunchy sound. I don't think there's anything wrong going on in the blaster. In fact, I think it's working as intended. All of those crunches do a specific thing inside to make sure that the darts are feeding properly. And that's one of the things I like about this blaster is that it relatively works problem-free because of some of the features that they put inside the hopper. And the other thing too, I don't know if you noticed this, but the performance of it wasn't too bad. You might expect something like this with trying something new would have diminished performance, but no, it does a really good job of getting darts down the range. Let's see how many darts I've got left here. Oh, I've got a handful, and we will just keep going, shall we? Now to open the hopper, it's a little tricky. If I just try to push back on this, it's gonna be a really tough time doing it. And that's because this little retention clip right here, I'm going to need to press on this side of the blaster so that it gets free from these different kind of levels, I suppose. So here, I'll show you again. This is just how easy it can be. Very smooth when you do it that way. And all right, we're gonna have to get really close here, but if you take a look, that there are these two things on the side here, and what these do is they agitate the darts in place so that it properly feeds. We can kind of see that working because I don't need to have this in place for the whole mechanism to work. So take a quick, close look at how this operates. And it's as simple as that. You see them kind of going like this. It properly jogs the darts in place. It loads one into the plunger tube, and then you can fire from there, just like you normally would. The one thing you need to be careful with this blaster is that if you put too many darts in it, it's not going to load properly because those little arms don't have room to wiggle. And that's one of the things I would have liked to see done a little bit differently. How about a little extra room in this hopper so that we can feed a little more darts into it? I can imagine having a little more height here and increasing your dart capacity quite a bit more. The other thing that I would have liked to see done a little bit differently is the noise. As you notice that I've been showing this off, it's all crunchy and clicky. I don't know how possible that is considering how many things move internally in this blaster, but having a smoother feel would have just made this a lot easier to handle and hold and use. But here's what I absolutely love about it. It tries something new and it successfully does it. Hands down. There are very few problems I have with this hopper. The other thing, it doesn't compromise on performance. This is a Dart Zone blaster, and they tend to focus a little more on performance, a little more on speed. And the other thing too is the blaster looks really nice for how many crazy new things it's trying. This blaster is a few years old already, so it might be a little more difficult to track down. It still might exist on Walmart.com because anything Adventure Force, just FYI, is a Walmart exclusive. Now, the other place you can possibly find these at this point is thrift stores, but I haven't come across these in any of the thrifts, and I've done those quite a bit. I love when blaster companies take risks and when it ultimately pays off. That's great. What do you think about this blaster? Is this something that you would want to see more of? Because we haven't really seen this hopper setup in foam dart blasters for full-length darts since the Sportsman, as well as another blaster called the Matrix Fire. Definitely not the most stealth blaster to use when you're running around in a field, but there is something oddly satisfying about that crunch, even though it's extremely loud. Let me know what you think about this blaster in the comment section, and if you want to hear more about blasters, if you want to hear more about toys, action figures, and just generally fun things, be sure to give me a follow. That's it. Thanks for watching.